A very good evening to you, and thank you for joining us. You're watching Kwara TV News now. We're broadcasting live from our television house here in Akpata Yakuba, Ilorin. My name is Tosin Adil. Let's start from the national scene. The president of the Nigerian community in Turkey, Prince Magbu, has welcomed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and members of his delegation to the Republic of Turkey, describing the visit as a moment of excitement for Nigerians living in the country. Magbo said that the Nigerian community in Turkey is fully prepared to receive the president, noting that the state visits has generated enthusiasm among Nigerians in diaspora. He expressed optimism that the visit would strengthen bilateral ties between Nigeria and Turkey, particularly in areas of economic, diplomatic, and strategic cooperations. Magbo also conveyed his best wishes to the president for a successful visit as he embarks on high-level engagements aimed at enhancing collaboration between the two countries. He further expressed appreciation for the opportunity to serve and represent Nigerians in Turkey at what he described as a significant moment, reaffirming his commitment to unity, patriotism, and the positive representation of Nigeria in the diaspora. The federal government has signed a concession agreement for the Akano Ibiam International Airport in Enugu State, a move aimed at bringing in private sector investment to improve the airport and strengthen economic activities in the southeast. The Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission described the agreement as an important step in the government's plan to use public-private partnerships to upgrade key national infrastructure and attract more business and travel to the region. In a statement, the Commission said that the agreement was signed by the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development and the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria on behalf of the federal government, while Hero Alliance Limited signed as a private company taking over the operation of the airport under the concession. The statement said that the PPP agreement signed by the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development and the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria on behalf of the federal government and the concessionaire Aero Alliance Limited underscores the growing momentum of the public-private partnerships as a central pillar of infrastructure delivery under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The ICRC explained that the deal followed all requirement government procedures. It said the process included checking and approving the business plans, carrying out detailed background checks, holding negotiations, getting approval from the Federal Executive Council, and having the agreement reviewed by the Federal Ministry of Justice before it was initially signed into law that set up the commission. Speaking on the development, the Director General of the ICRC, Dr. Johnson Osendio Ewalefo, said the signing shows that Nigeria is ready to allow more private companies to take part in building and managing public infrastructure. He said that the deal marks the end of the negotiation stage and opens the way for full work to begin. The Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center has held the 10th National Assembly to prioritize governance, accountability, and key reforms as it resumes legislative duties for this year. The rights group warned against distractions from early electioneering ahead of the 2027 general elections. A statement on Monday signed by Executive Director Awa Ibrahim Musa described 2026 as a critical year for both the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration and the legislature, noting that Nigerians expect concrete results from policies introduced since 2023. He cautioned that legislative productivity often declines in pre-election periods, warning that proposals to hold general elections as early as November 2026 could heighten public anxiety and undermine governance. CISLAC said Nigerians' economic challenges, insecurity, rising debt, and declining public trust require a focused, responsive, and accountability National Assembly, not one distracted by political ambitions or perceived as a rubber stamp for the executive. The organization outlined key priorities for lawmakers in 2026, including sustained participation in plenary and committee work, expedited passage of critical reforms, especially electoral, economic, security, and governance bills, and stronger oversight of budget implementation, public procurement and public funds Sajani stressed that electoral reform remains a major public demand following the 2023 polls and should not be delayed. Sislak also warned lawmakers against abandoning legislative responsibilities ahead of the official campaign period, urging them to uphold integrity, discipline, and public interest. Moving on, Osun State Governor Senator Nuruddin Ademola Adeleke has demanded the immediate release of the 130 billion naira in statutory allocations allegedly withheld from the state's local government. Governor Adeleke warned that the continued blockade is crippling grassroots governance and inflicting hardship on workers and residents. Reports say that local governments across Osun State have been left without access to statutory funds amid the ongoing disputes over control of council secretariats, prompting calls for urgent federal intervention. Governor Adeleke raised the alarm in a statewide broadcast on Monday and described the continued occupation of council offices as unlawful and damaging to grassroots administration. He said that the situation followed court rulings which, according to him, nullified the tenure of certain All Progressives Congress APC chairmen and councillors previously elected into office. The governor noted that the judgments delivered by the Federal High Court in Osogbo in November 2022 and upheld by the Court of Appeal in February and June 2025 invalidated the elections that brought the affected officials into office. He explained that fresh local government elections were conducted in line with the existing court orders, resulting in the inauguration of new chairmen and councillors on February 23, 2025. The governor noted that the current occupants of the secretariat were acting without lawful authority and had prevented duly elected officers and workers from carrying out their duties. Adeleke alleged that attempts by council staff to resume work had been met with intimidation, claiming that armed police officers and political thugs were deployed to block access to offices. Central to the dispute, he said, was the non-release of local government allocations, which he put at more than 130 billion since February. Let's go to Anambra, where the Anambra State Governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, has ordered the closure of the Onitsha main market for 1 week following traders' failure to comply with the state government's directive to disregard the Monday sit-at-home order. The governor gave the directive on Monday during an on-site visit to the market, along with some of its aides and other government officials. Soludo warned that the closure could be extended if traders fail to comply with the directive, adding that security agencies have sealed the market to enforce the order. The governor described the development as the latest and perhaps most drastic saddle in a protracted struggle over control of economic life in the southeast on Monday. Soludo said that despite repeated assurances of enhanced security and appeals to reclaim public spaces, many traders at the market once again chose to keep their stalls locked. According to him, their absence amounted to a quiet rebellion that nonetheless spoke volumes about the lingering climate of fear. He, however, issued a stern warning that if the market fails to reopen after the 1 week shutdown, it will be sealed for 1 month. The scene at the market on Monday was marked by tense enforcement as the joint task force comprising police, army, and other security agencies was seen securing the perimeter. As the gates remain locked, this week the standoff in Onitsha highlighted the broader struggle to abolish the Monday sit-at-home. Moving on, a tense atmosphere enveloped the Lagos office of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, on Monday as consumers' rights advocates staged a protest against the agency's planned enforcement of a ban on sachet alcoholic beverages. Demonstration organized by the Coalition for the Protection of Consumers' Rights and led by Comrade Olufemi Lawson followed comments attributed to the Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, on the commencement of the enforcement actions against the sachet alcohol product. Addressing protesters and journalists, Lawson criticized the proposed enforcement, describing it as economically insensitive and poorly timed, one that it could undermine ongoing efforts to address unemployment and economic hardship. According to the coalition, the enforcement could have wide-ranging implications for manufacturers, distributors, and consumers, and raises concern about consistency in regulatory policies. Lawson questioned the basis for classifying sachet alcoholic beverages as unsafe, noting that many of the products were previously tested, registered, and approved by NAFDAC. The coalition also disputed claims that sachet alcohol products contain excessively high alcohol content, stating that licensed distillers operate within recognized alcohol by volume standards. Protesters further dismissed environmental concerns linked to sachet packaging, noting that similar packaging is widely used for consumer goods such as water and detergent. During the protest, demonstrators carried placards with inscriptions such as "Suspend the sachet alcohol ban, save jobs, save livelihoods, regulation, not prohibition." They warned that continued enforcement could result in significant job losses, including factory workers, distributors, transporters, and retailers. The Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation (NDIC) and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) have reaffirmed their commitment to deepening collaboration in combating financial crimes, with particular emphasis on asset recovery and prosecution of individuals whose action undermine the stability of Nigeria's banking system. The NDIC restricted that it's resolved to strengthen cooperation with the Anti-Graft Agency to enhance the recovery of assets and debts from failed banks, as well as to support investigations and prosecutions linked to bank failures. The Managing Director and Chief Executive of the NDIC, Thompson Oludare, Sunday made this known during a courtesy visit by the corporation's management team to the Executive Chairman of the EFCC, Olanipekun Olukoyede, at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. In a statement by the NDIC's Head of Communication and Public Affairs, Awau Gambo, Sunday said robust partnership with the EFCC is critical to the effective liquidation of failed banks, a process that involves asset realization and debt recovery, with proceeds used to settle unused deposits. He noted that cases of asset stripping and concealment require coordinated efforts, and particularly in asset tracing, recovery, and enforcement, adding that the FCC's expertise is vital in achieving these objectives. Sunday also identified banking fraud investigation and the prosecution of individuals whose actions contribute to bank collapses as key areas where both institutions can further strengthen their cooperation. Responding, the EFCC boss Olukoyede reiterated the Commission's commitment to its long-standing working relationship with the NDIC in tackling financial crimes within the banking sector. Olukoyede assured that the NDIC of the EFCC's continued support in deepening institutional synergy to combat financial crimes, improve asset recovery, and ensure that offenders who undermine the banking sector are brought to justice. Lastly, from the business scene, garri is one of the most consumed staple foods common in West Africa, which serves as a major source of daily nutrition for millions of households, known for its affordability and long shelf life. Kwara TV News crew conducted a market survey on the current price of the commodity in the processing factory in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. Recent observations indicated that garri is readily available though prices continue to vary based on type and season. Awau Dauda completes the story.
Garri is a popular West African staple food made from processed, fermented, and roasted cassava tubers. It is a versatile, crispy, creamy, white or yellow flour that can be soaked in water for a quick snack, with milk, nuts, or even cooked and served with choice of soup. Some of the sellers disclosed that a mudu of garri, which contains 8 cups, goes for 300 naira, while a pint rubber is sold at 900. A bucket, also known as garawa, is 6,000 naira, and a big sack with 50 mudus goes for 18,000 naira, respectively. They said the reduction in the price of the commodity is as a result of drastic change in the price of cassava, pointing out that a load of cassava, which was sold at 480,000 naira before, now goes between 250 to 260,000 naira.
70,000 ní lóòdù igi kan sìn tẹ́lẹ̀ 45,000 40,000 ní lóòdù so ohun tó fà á tí gàrí wá fi gbówó lórí nìyẹn.
The market has not been favoring us as we used to have it in the previous years, in the previous days during the rainy season.
Gàrí is very quality. There is no stone there, so that is why people are coming.
Our respondent also expressed optimism that there will be reduction in price of the commodity if the price of firewood could come down, saying a full load of firewood is now 70,000 naira. They noted that cassava during dry season always lose value, usually reduced in starch and full of water instead. They, however, lamented low patronage, which they said months following Yuletide always record few sales because most families have stocked up for festivity.
January náà tẹ́lẹ̀ ọjà máa ń sẹ́mu kọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ máa ń fẹ́ sanwó iléèwé ọmọ ṣe wá sẹ́yìn kò wá jẹ́ kọjá ọjà.
The direct opposite of December, so we are not experiencing good sales, but all the same we still thank God at least. Ẹ̀gẹ́ máa ń lómi gan, so omi tó ní yẹn wọ́n affect àwa náà, wọ́n affect wa in the sense that bí tó yẹ ká ti rí bóyá ká make be 2 bags, bóyá máa rí bí 1.5 bags or 1 bag.
Because of the dry season, the value on it is reducing because it will not have a lot of starch any longer. Then it will have a lot of water.
Hawa Udauda, Kwara TV News.
And that reports from the Gari factory processing computer package this evening. Thank you very much for watching. Olajide Ibrahim is standing by for the news this hour. My name is Tosin Adiri. Good evening. ẹ kú ìrọ̀lẹ́ èyí ni ìròyìn lẹ́rẹ̀fẹ̀ láti lè ṣe mọ́mọ́ ìpínlẹ̀ Kwara tó kalẹ̀ sí àpáta àkóbá nílùú Ìlọrin. Ọlájídé Ibrahim ní orúkọ tèmi. Ààrẹ àgbáríjọpọ̀ àwọn ọmọ bíbí ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà tó wà ní orílẹ̀-èdè Turkey ọmọọba Mabo ti ṣe ẹ káàbọ̀ ẹ máa wọlé ẹ máa rọra sí ààrẹ Bọ́lá Ahmed Tinubu àti àwọn tó kọ̀wọ́ rìn pẹ̀lú rẹ̀ wá sí ilẹ̀ Turkey tó ti ṣe àpèjúwe àbẹ̀wò bí o ti mú inú àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà tí ó gbé ilẹ̀ Turkey dùn ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí Magbo ti wí, gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà tó wà nílẹ̀ Turkey ló ti gbáradì láti gba ààrẹ lálejò àti pé àbẹ̀wò ààrẹ náà ló ti mú kí àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè yìí tó wà lẹ́yìn odi ó máa yọ̀ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ nítorí èyí. Ó ní àbẹ̀wò náà yóò tún mú kí okùn ìbáṣepọ̀ tó wà láàrin orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà àti Turkey lè dàn sí i pàápàá lágbára ètò ọrọ̀ ajé àti àjùmọ̀ṣepọ̀ gbogbo. Magbo wa ní láyọ̀ ni àbẹ̀wò náà yóò jẹ́ bí yóò ti máa ní àjọṣepọ̀ tó lóòrìn láàrin orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà àti ti Turkey. Àjọ kan tí ó sọ̀rọ̀ nípa jíjà fún òfin aráàlú tí wọ́n ilé ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin àpapọ̀ kẹwàá láti rí i pé ètò ìṣèjọba rẹ̀ ìjábọ̀ iṣẹ́ àti àwọn ìlànà tó ṣe gbòógì múnú láyà wọn bí wọ́n ṣe ń wọlé fún iṣẹ́ ṣíṣe òfin ilẹ̀ wa lọ́dún tuntun tí àwọn ọdún rẹ̀ yìí. Àjọ tí ó ń sí ètò ẹ̀tọ́ ọmọnìyàn yìí ṣe kìlọ̀kìlọ̀ pé àwọn ọmọ aṣòfin wọn kò gbọdọ̀ jẹ́ kí ọ̀rọ̀ ìmúrasílẹ̀ fún ètò ìdìbò gbogbogbò ọdún 2027 ó jẹ́ ohun tí yóò máa fà wọ́n sí sọ́hùn. Nínú àtẹ̀jáde kan lọ́jọ́ ajé èyí tí olùdarí rẹ̀ Awal Ibrahim Musa Rafsanjani fọwọ́ sí, ó ṣe àpèjúwe ọdún 2026 bíi ọdún tí ó lágbára fún ìṣèjọba Bọ́lá Tinubu àti ẹ̀ka ilé aṣòfin nítorí gbogbo ọmọ ilẹ̀ yìí ló retí èsì rere láti inú gbogbo ìlànà tí wọ́n ti gbé síta láti ọdún 2023. Àjọ yìí yànnàná àwọn ohun tí ó yẹ kí ó jẹ́ èyí tí àwọn aṣòfin yóò dojúkọ lọ́dún 2026 bíi kíkópa nínú àwọn ìjókòó ilé àti ti ìgbìmọ̀ alábẹ́sẹ́kẹ́lé gbogbo kí wọ́n tẹ̀ gba àwọn àtúntò tó bá yẹ wọlé pàápàá jùlọ ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ìdìbò, ọ̀rọ̀ ajé, ààbò àti ìṣèjọba, kí wọ́n sì rí i pé wọ́n ṣe ètò ìṣúná lọ́nà tó tọ́. Wọ́n tó kìlọ̀ fún àwọn aṣòfin láti má ṣe pa iṣẹ́ òfin ṣíṣe tì ṣáájú àkókò ìpolongo ìbò, kí wọ́n sì hu ìwà ọmọlúàbí. Ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun, gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun sínétọ̀ Nurudeen Adémọ́lá Adélékè ti béèrè fún ìyọ̀ǹda lẹ́yìn ìsọ̀ka owó tó tó bílíọ̀nù lọ́nà 140 mílíọ̀nù náírà, èyí tí ó jẹ́ owó tó tọ́ sí àwọn ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ ní ìpínlẹ̀ ọ̀hún tí ìjọba àpapọ̀ kò sì fi sílẹ̀ títí di àkókò yìí. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí Adélékè ti wí, ó ṣe kìlọ̀kìlọ̀ wípé bí wọn kò bá fún wọn ní owó yìí yóò dí ètò ìṣèjọba lọ́wọ́ ni, pàápàá jùlọ lẹ́sẹ̀ kòkó tí yóò sọ ọ́ di akúrẹ̀tẹ̀ tí yóò sì tún mú kí ara ó ní àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ àti àwọn olùgbé agbègbè wọ̀nyí. Ó fi kún wípé gbogbo ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun ni kò rí owó tó yẹ gbà látàrí aáwọ̀ tó wáyé lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ta ni yóò ṣe àkóso ìjọba ìbílẹ̀, èyí tí gbogbo ènìyàn ti ń pè ìjọba àpapọ̀ láti dá sí ọ̀rọ̀ tó wà nílẹ̀ yìí. Nínú ọ̀rọ̀ tó bá aráàlú sọ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ìròyìn lọ́jọ́ ajé yìí ló ti ṣe àpèjúwe bí àwọn kan ṣe gba ọ́fíìsì ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ kan bí èyí tí kò tọ́ lábẹ́ òfin, tí ó sì ń kó ìdààmú àti ìbàjẹ́ bá ètò ìṣèjọba lẹ́sẹ̀ ìkùkù. Ó ní ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kò ṣẹ̀yìn bí ilé ẹjọ́ ṣe dá ẹjọ́ wípé àkókò àwọn ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú APC bí alága àti kánsílọ̀ tí wọ́n ti ṣáájú yàn sípò ti tẹnu bọ̀pọ̀. Kò sàì tún fi kún wípé ìdájọ́ náà ti ilé ẹjọ́ gíga àpapọ̀ gbé kalẹ̀ ní ìlú Òṣogbo lóṣù kọkànlá ọdún 2022 tí ilé ẹjọ́ kòtẹ́milọ́rùn sì fìdí rẹ̀ múlẹ̀ lóṣù kejì àti oṣù kẹfà ọdún 2025 ti sọ wípé ìdìbò tí ó gbé àwọn alága àti kánsílọ̀ wọ̀nyí wọlé kò tọ̀nà rárá. Ó tún ṣe lálàyé wípé ètò ìdìbò mìíràn ni wọ́n tún ṣe ní ìbámu pẹ̀lú àṣẹ ilé ẹjọ́ tí ó mú kí àwọn alága tuntun àti kánsílọ̀ wà nípò lọ́jọ́ kẹtàlélógún oṣù kejì ọdún 2025. Gómìnà tún sọ wípé àwọn tí ó wà láwọn olú ilé iṣẹ́ ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ wọ̀nyí ni wọ́n ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ láì bá òfin mu tí wọn kò sì jẹ́ kí àwọn tí wọ́n dìbò yàn lọ́nà tó tọ́ orí ìṣẹ̀ṣe. Ìbẹ̀rùbojo gbalẹ̀ ní ọ́fíìsì àjọ tí ó ní sí àkóso oúnjẹ àti ògùn nílẹ̀ yìí yóò ní NAFDAC ẹ̀ka tìlú Èkó lónìí bí àwọn tí ó ń jà fún ẹ̀tọ́ àwọn tí ó ń ra ohun gbogbo tí ẹnu ń jẹ ṣe ṣètò ìwọ́de kan tako ìpinnu àjọ NAFDAC láti fìdí òfin tó de àwọn mímu jásẹ́nu gbogbo wọ̀nyí múlẹ̀. Ètò ìwọ́de náà yìí tí àgbájọpọ̀ àwọn tí ó ń dáàbò bo ẹ̀tọ́ àwọn òǹrajà níbi tí a ti rí Comrade Olúfẹ́mi Lọ́sìn tó ṣáájú wọn kò ṣẹ̀yìn ọ̀rọ̀ kan tí ó tẹnu ìdarí àgbà àjọ NAFDAC jáde, èyí ò ní ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Mojísọ́lá Adéyẹyè lórí pé àwọn yóò bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní fi gbọ́rọ̀ òfin gbé àwọn tí wọ́n bá rí àwọn ọtí líle pẹlẹbẹ yìí lọ́wọ́ wọn. Nígbà tí ó ń bá àwọn olùfẹ̀hónúhàn sọ̀rọ̀ àti àwọn akọ̀ròyìn pẹ̀lú Lọ́sìn bu ẹnu àtẹ́lu ètò àti fìdí òfin náà múlẹ̀. Ó ṣe àpèjúwe rẹ̀ bíi pé bí a bá fi ojú ọrọ̀ ajé wò kò dára tó, kì í ṣe irú àkókò bí èyí tí wọ́n wá ṣe kìlọ̀kìlọ̀ pé ó lè tún dákún ọ̀rọ̀ àìríṣẹ́ṣe àti ọrọ̀ ajé tó le koko láwùjọ wa. Wọ́n tún fi kún wípé bí wọ́n bá fi lé dandan pé òfin yìí gbọ́dọ̀ ṣiṣẹ́, ó lè ní ipa tí kò dára lórí àwọn olùdásílẹ̀ ilé iṣẹ́, àwọn tí ó ń gba ọjà tà àti àwọn tí ó ń rà á pẹ̀lú. Lásìkò ìwọ́de náà àwọn olùwọ́de gbé àkọlé pélébé ẹ dẹ́kun fífòfin de ọtí líle pẹlẹbẹ wọ̀nyí, ẹ dáàbò bo iṣẹ́ àwọn ènìyàn, ẹ jẹ́ kí àwọn ènìyàn kí ó ráyé gbé. Bí ẹ bá gbé òfin lélẹ̀, ọ̀pọ̀ ènìyàn ní ò pàdánù iṣẹ́ ní gbogbo àwọn ilé iṣẹ́ wa. Lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò, bàbá aládùúrà pátápátá àti olórí àgbáríjọpọ̀ Kérúbù Séráfù ní gbogbo àgbáyé Wòlíì Emmanuel Abíọ́dún Alógbó ti bí ẹnu àtẹ́lu ìwà jàgídíjàgan àti àìbìkítà nípa òfin èyí tí wọ́n ṣe sí àwọn ọmọ ìjọ ọ̀hún lápá ìhà àríwá ilẹ̀ yìí. Wòlíì Alógbó ṣe àpèjúwe àkọlù náà bí èyí tí kò bá ìfẹ́ Ọlọ́run mu, tó sì rí bí àìnífẹ̀ẹ́ ọmọnìkejì tí ó wáyé ní orílẹ̀-èdè yìí bíi Nàìjíríà. Ó ṣàpèjúwe àwọn ọmọ ìjọ náà bí olólùfẹ́ àlàáfíà tó jẹ́ wípé ohun tí ẹ̀mí wọ́n fẹ́ ni láti sin Ọlọ́run kí wọ́n sì gbé ìgbé ayé tí ó mú inú Ọlọ́run dùn.
gẹ́gẹ́ bàbá aládùúrà náà ti wí ó ṣe lálàyé wípé bí a bá fi àwọn ènìyàn sínú ẹ̀rù ìrora àti ìgbèkùn kì í ṣe ohun tí ó dára tí ó sì bani lọ́kàn jẹ́ tí ó mú ọkàn ènìyàn pòrúurú. Wòlíì Àlògbò wá rọ ìjọba àpapọ̀ àti ti ìpínlẹ̀ Kaduna láti jígìrì sí ojúṣe wọn èyí tí òfin ilẹ̀ wa làálẹ̀. Ààbò àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè yìí kì í ṣe èyí tí ó fi yẹ kí a ṣe àwẹ̀wà tàbí pàmìdì kí wọ́n sì rí i wípé wọ́n fi àwọn kòlò sí ẹ̀dá ìjófin kí wọ́n ṣe ìdájọ́ wọn bó bá ti tán àti bí ó ṣe yẹ. Ìròyìn fi tóni ní wípé 1,300 ọmọ ìjọ Kérúbù Séráfù onítẹ̀síwájú tó fi mọ́ ọmọ ìjọ ECWA bíi 26 ni wọ́n kó ní páńpámọ́ra tí wọ́n jí gbé lásìkò tí wọ́n ń jọ́sìn lọ́jọ́ àìkú tí ó kọjá ní ìpínlẹ̀ Kaduna. Gààrí jẹ́ ọ̀kan nínú oúnjẹ tí àwọn ènìyàn ń jẹ ní apá ìwọ̀ oòrùn ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀ tí ó wà nínú oúnjẹ tí àwọn ènìyàn ò lè ṣe kí wọ́n má jẹ lójúmọ́ nítorí ó wà lárọ̀ọ́wọ́tó kò sì wọ́n ní owó rárá. Ikọ̀ ìròyìn iléeṣẹ́ wa lọ sí àárín ọjà láti mọ èlò ní owó rẹ̀ lọ́jà báyìí. Ní wòye wọ́n rí wípé gààrí pọ̀ báyìí bó tilẹ̀ jẹ́ pé ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ní iye owó wọn nítorí irú èyí tí wọ́n jẹ́ àti àkókò rẹ̀. Awa Dáúdà láti iléeṣẹ́ wa ló ṣe àgbéyẹ̀wò ọ̀rọ̀ oúnjẹ yìí wípé gààrí jẹ́ oúnjẹ pàtàkì kan ní ìwọ̀ oòrùn ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀ tí wọ́n ṣe láti ara ẹ̀gẹ́ tí wọ́n ti ṣe lára ọ̀tọ̀ bíi bíbẹ rírẹ àti yíyan. Ó lè funfun ó sì lè rí rẹ́súrẹ́sú ní àwọ̀ yẹ́lò tí ó sì rí bíi lẹ́búlẹ́bú tí a lè rẹ́ sínú omi kí a lè tètè mú pẹ̀lú mílíìkì ẹ̀pà tàbí kí a tẹ̀ ẹ́ pẹ̀lú ọbẹ̀ tí ó dọ́ṣọ̀ tí ó bá wu ènìyàn. Díẹ̀ nínú àwọn òǹtajà ló ṣe lálàyé wípé múdù gààrí oníkọ́ọ̀bù 8 ni wọ́n ń tà ní $200 tí ike ọ̀dà kan sì jẹ́ $9. Wọ́n ní dídín tí owó yìí dínkù kò ṣẹ̀yìn bí owó ẹ̀gẹ́ ṣe wálẹ̀. Ọkọ̀ ẹ̀gẹ́ kan ni wọ́n ń tà ní $500 báyìí dípò $2,300 tí wọ́n ń tà tẹ́lẹ̀. Àwọn tí a bá sọ̀rọ̀ ni wọ́n ní ìrètí wípé owó gààrí yóò túbọ̀ wálẹ̀ tí owó èédú bá lè wálẹ̀ nítorí owó ọkọ̀ èédú kan báyìí ni wọ́n tà ní $70. Níbi tí a rí ìròyìn lérèfé ti sáà yìí mọ́ rèé ó bá di ní àṣálẹ́ a mú ẹ̀kọ́ rẹ̀ wá fún yín títí di ìgbà náà Ọlájídé Ibrahim ló ti ròyìn fún iléeṣẹ́ mọ́ọ̀máwòrán ìpínlẹ̀ Kwara.